Hello everybody, Bruce McGonigal here. Happy Friday. So, the Magna Carta was signed 810 years ago. I'm going to read this to you because it's so critically important to understand what Canada is walking away from. Check it out. Okay. The Magna Carta, or Great Charter, is a significant document signed by King John of England on June 15th, 2015, which established the principle that everyone, including the king, is subject to the law. It laid the groundwork for individual rights and limited government power, influencing modern legal systems and democratic principles. So for 810 years, the Magna Carta has helped society evolve to the point where liberty allowed people to create televisions, airplanes, refrigerators, toaster ovens, cars, satellites, spaceships, and of course, cruise ships, right? So, folks, freedom has been critical to happiness amongst humans. The ability to be free and create and pursue your own happiness and dreams has made almost everybody better in society. We have lifted so many people out of extreme poverty and despair with the concept of freedom that has lasted for 810 years. Now, I'm not saying 810 years ago the Magna Carta magically snapped its fingers and everything got better. It was the beginning of getting better. So why, after 810 years, would Canadians be working so hard to surrender all of that freedom, all of that prosperity, and all of the benefits that come with freedom to allow our government to work with the Communist Party of China for trade deals? It makes no sense, folks. The Communist Party of China is directly linked to helping over 50,000 Canadians die from overdose because they flooded our country with fentanyl and precursor drugs for fentanyl, not only to attack Canada, but to attack the United States of America. This is all part of their undercover shadow war strategy. Same thing with COVID-19. It was the exact same. So the very people that released a virus on the world to stop protests of millions of people in Hong Kong are now helping our government rig democracy in Canada. It makes no sense, folks, but that's where we're at, right? This is the thing. How in Canada do Canadians sit there and go, I will vote for Mark Carney, knowing full well that he has not only endorsed one candidate that's pro-CCP, he's endorsed two. The first candidate had to resign and step back from the whole election process because he literally told people in January to kidnap his political rival, take it to the Chinese consulate. Zhou Tai, by the way, was the candidate that was supposed to have this happen. Taken from his wherever he's at, kidnapped, taken to the Chinese consulate for a 1 million Hong Kong dollar reward, which works out to, I guess, about $200,000 Canadian or so. Don't hold me specifically to that number because I haven't checked what the rates are today. But what this says is, our government is willing to sacrifice all of our lives, all of our freedoms, and all of our future in order to go into business with slave owners in China. There's 1.4 billion people over there, folks. And people that force organ harvesting out of people that they politically disagree with. That's what happens in China. Just ask the Falun Gong, look up Falun Gong, and organ harvesting is absolutely barbaric what they're doing. I'm going to point this out to you so people really understand how evil communism in China is. Okay? Falun Gong was popular among the Communist Party of China. Falun Gong was being promoted by the Communist Party of China because it was holistic, about feeling better about yourself, about taking care of your body and your mind, right? But so many people got into Falun Gong that it actually had more people than the Communist Party of China has in the Communist Party of China. So all of a sudden, like that, once the information came out that there were more people in Falun Gong than in the CCP radically turned on hundreds of millions of people in China. Like that. These are the people that we're jumping into bed with. Those people did nothing wrong whatsoever. In fact, they followed the Chinese Communist Party propaganda, did what China said to do, and then they ended up getting thrown in prison and having their organs removed, being tortured for years. Folks, that's who Mark Carney is in bed with. It's got to stop. We cannot sit there and look each other in the eye and say that democracy counts when China doesn't allow democracy over there, but they're allowed to interfere with our democracy here. And it's not just that this has happened federally, folks. I mean, we've got the election coming. That's why I'm talking federally right now. But for provincially here in British Columbia, the October 2024 election, same problem, folks. We knew China was going to interfere in the election. The RCMP threw up their hands and said, we can't do anything about it. You're actually better equipped to do stuff about it. So the diaspora that's being threatened by the Communist Party of China is more equipped to deal with the thugs from China, apparently, than the RCMP. But of course that diaspora better do it peacefully and submissively, or the very RCMP that won't protect them will protect the Communist Party of China. You can bet on that 100%. The courts have already shown over and over and over again that even when the CCP has assaulted people in Canada, they keep getting off for it. So it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. It's not a democracy if people are terrified for their life if they don't go out and vote for a candidate that another government wants them to vote for in our country. I can't stress this to you enough, folks. We know the Dominion voting systems from the video. Listen to this clip right now.
Long list of things that we're investigating. We have the best of the best going after this. Election integrity being one of them. We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the votes being cast, which further drives forward your mandate to bring about paper ballots across the country so that voters can have faith in the integrity of our elections.
Does that sound to any of you like the Dominion voting systems were credible? No. And they used these voting systems, folks, in British Columbia, in the BC election, for early voting and for the election itself. Then we found out, okay, that there are people at these polling sites, these polling managers, that take the ballots home, whether the ballots are not used or whether the ballots have been voted for, and these are supposed to be secured and certified, okay? And then they take those home with them to an area that's not monitored. So you literally have lost chain of custody at that point. But it's not just the paper ballots, folks. It's the machines, like I'm showing you right there. Ours said they were just our readers. It's still recording all of that information into data and sending it somewhere. It's connected to the internet, for crying out loud. And she is telling us right now that these voting systems are hackable. They've been hackable for a long time. So why would British Columbia import hackable systems from Ontario before our election and then send them back to Ontario after? Does that sound credible to anybody? Like this isn't just some big election shell game where a bunch of electronic data that's being manipulated is actually deciding who wins votes and wins elections? In other words, it's a complete sham. And we should have everybody fighting for this right now. I've been fighting it from election day. I've been fighting it since before the BC election. I was warning right on October the 3rd that the RCMP were not going to be helping British Columbians out. I was pleading with people to talk to Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh or anybody else that they could to try and get better protection monitoring for foreign interference. We never got it. So if we couldn't secure the election in October 2024 in one province, how on earth are we going to secure an election right across Canada when Mark Carney does not care at all about anything except winning the next election? The Communist Party of China could probably march troops down the street wearing liberal pins and flying liberal flags to the polling site, and Mark Carney would stand there and shake all their hands. I'm not kidding you, folks. Mark Carney himself, when he was the head of Brookfield, the head chair, the top honcho, secured himself in 2024 a $260 million loan for Brookfield from China. If you had a $1 trillion company, folks, which what Brookfield says it says it's over $1 trillion. First of all, wouldn't you be bragging about that? Wouldn't you say, hey, I got this company an extra $300 billion and took them over the $1 trillion mark? Mark Carney doesn't talk about it at all. Now we know why. The Communist Party of China had to bail a $1 trillion company out for almost $250 million, over $250 million. Doesn't that set off alarm bells to everybody? When Mark Carney's got assets directly tied into Brookfield, into things where his financial future and the future of his kids and the future of his grandkids are all going to be decided on how much money these assets make, do you really think that Mark Carney is going to put the interests of Canada ahead of himself? Do you really think that Mark Carney would risk bankrupting his future assets down the road in Brookfield versus doing what is right for Canada? I'm telling you right now, he is not going to do what's right for Canada. If he can funnel tax dollars to Brookfield or companies that work for Brookfield, he will do it 24/7. He's made that his mission long before he tried to run for Prime Minister. We have become state captured by the Communist Party of China thanks to the Liberals. They're not even trying to stop the voter interference anymore. So, folks, what we need to do now is every single person needs to start talking to a family member, a loved one, a neighbor, a co-worker, anybody that you can, and start making sure that people know that Mark Carney is working for the Communist Party of China because he is allowing them to manipulate our elections. And allowing a country with 1.4 billion people to manipulate the elections of a country with 41 million people should be treason. This shouldn't be, a logical puzzle, folks. It should be flat out, if you're helping a communist country take over our democracy, you're a traitor. It's that simple. Okay, I hope you have a great weekend, everybody. Remember what I said. Go talk to your friends and family.